This is the town that we've built. This is the love that's shared in the town that we've built. This is the child that felt the love that's shared in the town that we've built. This is the teacher that taught the child that felt the love that's shared in the town that we've built. This is the school where the teacher works that taught the child that felt the love that's shared in the town that we've built. This is the town's most famous park, where birds are in song from morn till dark, and lovers walk some hand in hand. Close by the school where the teacher works that taught the child that felt the love that's shared in the town that we've built. This is our dream of a Walsall for all, of a people proud and standing tall, together in the town's most famous park, where birds are in song from morn till dark, and lovers walk some hand in hand. Close by the school where the teacher works that taught the child that felt the love that's shared in the town that we've built.
Hello and welcome to the Walsall for All celebration event, the town that we've built. My name is Aisha Khan.
And my name is Maureen Lewis. We are delighted to have been asked to host this event, celebrating and recognising the invaluable work of the Walsall for All programme and the enormous contribution it has made to the communities of Walsall.
In today's event, we will be sharing incredible stories about some of the projects we have delivered over the last 3 years. From bringing communities together through dialogue, workshops and art projects, to welcoming new residents in Walsall and inspiring individual lives, all of which encompass the vision of Walsall for All.
To create integrated, empowered and inclusive communities where people from all backgrounds come together to celebrate what they have in common. A place where our residents are safe and valued, and everyone has fair opportunities to fulfil their potential and contribute to the growth of Walsall.
Over the last few years, Walsall for All has been supported by a number of organisations who share the vision of cohesive and integrated communities. One of these is the Belong Network, which aims to be the UK's leading membership organisation on cohesion and integration across the public, private and charitable sector in the UK.
Joe Broadwood, who is the CEO of the Belong Network, has sent us some reflections on what she has observed in Walsall as an integration area over the last 3 years. What the work of Walsall for All means for others involved in cohesion and integration, and what she hopes to see in the coming years ahead.
My observation of Walsall is that it's been one of the leaders in the UK on cohesion and integration. And I think that's been particularly demonstrated throughout the pandemic. So the work that Walsall was doing prior to the pandemic actually, I think, meant, or certainly our research shows, meant that Walsall was able to be more resilient during the pandemic, but also was able to mobilise communities and groups much more quickly to help others, or had those links into communities. Social cohesion is absolutely vital. It's like our social connections with each other, and it's important for all sorts of reasons, not just in terms of how we feel about our neighbourhood, but it's related to, levels of loneliness, health, mental health, and that's been really demonstrated during the pandemic. Those areas which are more socially cohesive have actually been able to deal better with some of the challenges of the pandemic. Well, I think Walsall for All has really demonstrated national leadership on cohesion and integration. So as one of the 5 integration areas, I think it's been really kind of exploring and demonstrating how to build social cohesion at a local level. And so I think Walsall has done an amazing job at really understanding the factors that influence social cohesion locally in Walsall, and then working out what they need to do and what levers they need to pull in order to improve cohesion locally. You know, I think we really need to harness the power in communities that we've seen over the pandemic. I think, you know, that sort of inherent goodness in people to look out for their neighbours, to support the most vulnerable. We need to do more to harness that. But I think, you know, in order to do that, you have to really kind of support it. One of the really startling things from our research was levels of discrimination. If there's one section of our society that is, you know, being discriminated against, then that has knock-on effects for all of us. We all, you know, in order for us all to thrive, we need everybody to thrive.
When Walsall was chosen by government as one of the 5 integration areas to work with back in March 2018, work was underway to discuss what the vision could look like and potential solutions for a more integrated Walsall.
Consultation with partner organisations, the community and the voluntary sector took place across the different localities of Walsall to understand what the priorities of the Walsall for All would be.
Following this, the Walsall for All Partnership Board was set up, where partners agreed on the strategy and suggested ways of driving the work forward to achieve maximum impact and sustainability.
We are delighted to be joined by the Reverend Canon Dr. David Primrose, Chair of the Walsall for All Board.
Hello David, thank you for joining us. And can you tell us what the vision was for Walsall for All, first of all?
Aisha, Maureen, just great to be with you, and the fact that we're together talking about this is part of the resolution of the vision. The vision was for Walsall, full of lots of different people, lots of different contributions to make, coming together, working together to make sure that what all of us had to offer was accepted, taken together, built up into a better Walsall.
Fantastic. And what were the priorities that were agreed for Walsall for All?
We were very much recognising that we need to impact some different parts of our life together. We wanted to make sure that when it came to work in the workplace, there really was everybody has an opportunity to give of their very best. And anything that might have previously been a barrier was intentionally looked at and overcome.
Can I just ask, as chair, what are your highlights of the overall Walsall for All programme?
Well, as chair, I had 2 different levels of engagement. One level was where actually we got together as a board, and the board itself represented lots of different sectors of the borough, and seeing the way we'd work together, we would relate to each other in a really respectful way, and yet we challenge each other to say, do you know, each of us have got to be contributing so that together we achieve more than we could do separately. That was a real highlight, and I felt every time we had meetings first in person, then during COVID we had to meet on Zoom, but yet the interaction between us was very real and very purposeful. That was at the board level, but of course the action happened out there in the ground. So when we'd opportunities, and I had opportunities to go and see some of the work taking place and the way in which people studying English to help them play a much larger part in life in the borough, that was happening. Those were some of the really great highlights, visiting the work that was happening.
And David, what's your dream for a more integrated Walsall?
Well, I do dream of a more integrated Walsall because however much we've achieved in the last 3 years, it's shown us how much more we can achieve. And that comes when we find that whenever we meet somebody who's different from us, we are just drawn to discover who they are, what their experience is, what their gifts are, how they can contribute. And we grow through meeting people who are different. That's my dream, that people who grow up, who work, who live in Walsall will look forward to having really rich relationships with people who are different from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And where do you see the future of Walsall for All now?
I think Walsall for All's had an amazing combination of experiences. Something on the ground, we've had really big impacts and differences in individual lives. So the people who'll be able to say, I'm different now. My thoughts, my opportunities, my experiences different now because of Walsall for All. So that's real evidence on the ground. The other thing that's happened is there's been hope. There's been hope that we could think ambitiously, we could think creatively, we do things differently. And there is, within Walsall for All, huge, rich wealth of ideas yet to be realised. And I think there's a real danger that if we let time slip by, those ideas could slip away. But if we seize the opportunity now and work with the creative thinking and visionary actions that have been around, we can move from where we are, which is good, to where we want to be, which will be even better.
So continuity is really important.
I do agree with you entirely that continuity is really important, and we're at a very critical juncture. We've been supported significantly by national government funding. We've been able to apply in practice some of the really important resources that were laid out for responding to COVID-19. So we've been able to do that. We've looked to harness other funding streams, and we're poised at the moment where nothing's secure. And that just causes me some anxiety, concern. How can we actually nail the funding now so that the excellent experience, the fantastic staff, the really momentum that we built up can move forward, and we don't have just that pause and that break that could see precious experience, precious expertise, really valuable relationships be lost. So I do share with you a real worry that continuity really important, and there's not much time left to make sure that we have the resources we need to harness the energy of this borough to be a united, integrated place.
Absolutely.
That sounds great. Thank you, David, for all you've done for Walsall for All.
Been a great joy.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you both.
Connecting across communities is the first priority in the Walsall for All programme.
The ambition was for Walsall to be a vibrant and diverse place where people come together around what they have in common and form meaningful relationships. This was one of the strongest and most comprehensive priorities.
We developed the Walsall for All pledge, inviting residents and organisations across Walsall to make a commitment to equality, diversity and inclusion.
We also supported the expansion of the Places of Welcome network, bringing local groups on board who could open their venue to the community. In addition, we offer small innovation grants to groups to generate new physical spaces and ideas to bring communities together.
Other projects have included community research, identifying barriers and lived experiences of residents and thinking about solutions, bringing people together from different geographical areas.
One of the flagship projects in the Connecting Across Communities priority has been Community Dialogue, led by the Faith and Belief Forum. It aimed to create spaces for local people to come together to engage in conversations about the things that are important to them.
Here's a short video about the project, which includes testimonies from those who participated.
The community dialogue itself is something that we've devised to enable communities to come together and talk about issues that matter to them. It's an opportunity for people who have never met each other before, but to come together and talk to one another.
I thought I knew a lot about other people's backgrounds and faiths, but actually through the dialogue conversations, I learnt so much more.
It was lovely to see people flourish who had never have ever done something like this before. It left me feeling encouraged. I felt happy afterwards.
I learned a lot about people's experiences being different based on where they lived within Walsall, and based on their experience of life. I think it's important for people to understand other people's journeys and the various backgrounds, culturally, religiously, or non-religiously, that we have within Walsall. But I think for Walsall it's particularly important because of the diversity from area to area, and really to build not just an understanding but a healthy respect as well, and allowed us to have really honest and respectful, inclusive conversations, and that's what we've really enjoyed about it.
Community dialogue is important because it gives an opportunity for people to ask the questions that we all have, but either too afraid to ask or never had opportunity to ask. And those questions, those misunderstandings, are often the basis for prejudices and fears and discrimination and all sorts of things. And if any of us could just talk to each other.
Because we often talk about dialogue when there are tensions or conflict. But dialogue, in fact, is and should be part and parcel of our lives. It's only when we, as a community, start that process of talking to people who are very different from us that we start to build relationships. And when we build relationships, we are then better protected, so that when unforeseen circumstances, when communities are hit with a curveball, for example, like COVID-19, we are then better prepared to deal with its outcomes and its aftermath.
What a great film. Thank you to everyone who has been involved in the Community Dialogue project.
We mentioned early in the show that we offered innovation grants to groups across Walsall. One of the groups who was successful in receiving funds was Walsall Creative Factory, which develops and delivers exciting arts, events and heritage projects within Walsall and beyond.
We met with the team at the workshop near Walsall Town Centre to find out more.
Walsall Creative Factory is a community arts workshop. Groups come together to craft together, busy hands make very interesting community conversations.
The main purpose of the Creative Factory is to bring people together through the arts and look at different aspects of different cultures within the area. Some people are here because of particular traumas that they've had. Some people are here because they need that human contact that they're not getting necessarily on their own. And some of the people that come here are natural-born teachers who just want to spread what they like so much and give back to the community.
We also do collective community arts projects. So we're working towards the Jubilee. So all the groups here will make huge crowns, for instance, huge props, go out on the streets and cause a bit of a stir on our event. So all the groups here will have a stake in that event because they'll all have helped make something huge together.
Walsall Creative Factory. It's important to this particular community because it's making what is a small secular little bit of Walsall branch out into other sections of the community. So we've got Polish people coming in, we've got local people, we've got deaf groups, we've got English second language groups, all based here at the Creative Factory and all mixing together, which is absolutely fantastic.
Having worked in community arts for 25, 30 years and worked mostly in community cohesion, it's a real big theme for Walsall Creative Factory. Walsall Creative Factory applied for a couple of programmes using Walsall for All and an ESOL programme. So two programmes that were kind of being launched at the same time. So we had these programmes, we needed somewhere to do it. In a way, it's launched us having this venue. We wouldn't be in this venue if it hadn't have been for Walsall for All funding. Walsall Creative Factory, it's made us all, including myself, have learned how to get more involved with each other. It's not just on a surface, it's not just to have a cup of tea. That's what you see today, but there's actually a lot more going on underneath.
The purpose of Creative Factory is to make sure that everybody has a place of welcome, that everybody's welcome here no matter what walk of life you're from. That's the best way I can say it. That's what the purpose is. This is the heart of the community. There's no judgment, we feel happy here, and we can just be ourselves in our own little space that we created here.
What a groundbreaking project, bringing people together, which is at the heart of the initiative.
And it's not only adults integrating within the community, children from North and South Walsall have also been joining together, breaking barriers and creating bridges within our community. Now to a video of Baz from Walsall Arts for All project.
Walsall Arts for All is a programme that recognises and celebrates all the diverse cultures across Walsall. The arts are an amazing way to be able to cross those boundaries. So in this project we've got schools working with schools from a completely different part of the borough that has different cultures, different types of community, and by getting them to work together with a professional artist, we've been able to open up all kinds of stuff about where they come from, what their hopes and dreams are in life, what they think about Walsall. So it's been a really positive programme, and the arts just has an amazing ability to be able to do that. Phase 1 of Walsall Arts for All focused on visual arts. So whether that was stuff to do with printing, embroidery, we had schools making stuff from recycled and repurposed materials, but really creating a visual representation of what their communities and cultures meant to them. In a place that's got so many different cultures and communities, sometimes there isn't the crossover that you'd like to see. What the arts can do is open the doors on those different types of culture and really build understanding and appreciation and sharing and celebration of different cultures. We were just about to start the practical delivery of Walsall Arts for All when the first lockdown hit. It meant that we couldn't actually mix the schools together. They couldn't meet in person. Given that this was about community cohesion and getting schools to meet and young people to meet and work together, that was a bit of a challenge. But at the celebration event where we exhibited all of the works, we got schools to put like guest books out so that people could look at a piece of art and say, I like this because, or, oh, I really recognise something about my culture in this. Beginning of December, we held a celebration event. We had the run of the place for 3 days, and groups of school kids came in from the participating schools and were able to see not only the whole of the project, but of course their own created piece of artwork, which for many was the first time they've ever had anything exhibited publicly. The highlight for me was every time a school group came in and you saw their faces as they saw this extraordinary exhibition. I mean, you just wouldn't believe the number of different ways that the artists and young people have responded to this theme about community cohesion. I've come away from it feeling even more excited and invigorated about Walsall's future. Genuinely, I think this is a town that's got unique things to offer. It's got an enormous amount of creativity. It's got all of these different cultures, and when you bring them together, magical things happen. Our
phase 2 is going to focus on performing arts, and we're going to finish it with a celebration event, which will be a kind of a carnival, and it will bring together, we hope, the young people from those schools face to face to create a really exciting event.
The Walsall Arts for All project has been hugely successful in bringing young people together to share their diverse backgrounds, heritage and cultural interests on a shared and mutually appreciated platform.
We are now going to share with you a wonderful performance by Dariana's Dance Studio.
Walsall for All has been instrumental in providing a life-changing programme for long-term unemployed women across the borough. The programme has given women the opportunity to meet in a central location and benefit from a motivational course to change mindsets and help them to prepare for working life.
Walsall for All was groundbreaking in bringing DWP into the community and working with third sector organisations such as Iona Community Hub, Walsall Black Sisters Collective and Steps to Work.
We're now going to talk to Icky, who was one of the participants in the Empowering Women workshops.
I'd like to welcome today Icky, who has joined us. She was part of the Women Empowerment Programme. Welcome, Icky.
Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you did before you joined the project?
I was training in accountancy and also some time before that I was caring for my parents.
And how did you hear about it?
A friend of mine, so it was within the community. She thought it would be wonderful for me simply because my parents had recently passed away, both of them with coronavirus, and it was 5 days in between. Yes, I'm a single parent too, so it was challenging.
Yes, I can
and
imagine.
She wanted something to, or she thought the project would lift my spirits and give me that oomph back.
Icky, could you tell us a bit more about the course and what you learned and got out of it?
Of course. We learnt firstly how to manage our emotions, something we rarely are given the skills or have the knowledge on. We learnt perceptions. We talked about how other people perceive us and how we perceive ourselves and how usually it doesn't match. We learned CV writing, so how to write up a CV, interview techniques and skills. They went through a few questions with us. We had a few guest speakers. They taught us, or they spoke about how to dress within the working environment and how not to dress. Just gave me that confidence, and from there, it just made me realise, Icky, just keep trying. Do you know what? Don't just try one thing, try 10. Try 20, keep going, you know, you can do this. Since then, my confidence has grown. I've done loads since. I'm involved in a lot of charitable projects. And instead of thinking, oh, I'd better not do this because I'm out of my depth, I just think, you know what, it doesn't matter. Just do it, let's see what happens. And I've found from that, I've gone, you know, it's been one thing after another. Yeah.
What's nice to hear about your story, you're giving something back as well.
Yeah.
It's helped you, but you want to help others as well. So
yeah, most definitely.
That's quite nice to hear.
And what would you say were the highlights for you from the project?
Meeting these wonderful women. Such inspiring women. Some of them, I'd say the majority of them had been through their own trials and tribulations. Some of them weren't yet out of that. They were still finding a path to where they needed to be or wanted to be. But I'd say the Women's Project, we're all still in touch with one another. We all still, we encourage each other to do better. We share stories of where we're at now and what we're doing with ourselves. And I think it's that support.
And you still motivate each other.
We do.
Yeah. But how did you find out about the job that you're currently doing at DWP?
That was through the Job Centre. At the time, I was claiming Universal Credit. My work coach mentioned a training programme at Walsall College and said, I think it would be really good for you. You've been in sales in the past, and I think you'd benefit from it. So it was at Walsall College. I enrolled. It was a 2-week course. I think it was in customer services. It was delivered online again. It was around the Christmas period, and they said it's to help you with your CV, it's to help with interviews, it's to help with how you relate to others in terms of customer services. So I participated, and then they mentioned, okay, the DWP jobs will be coming out, and this is when they'll be coming out, and that's where I heard about the positions. So it was from the college.
Wow, so you were able to focus on a different pathway for you. So you started off with possibly thinking about accounts, but then decided to completely go a different route.
I did, yeah.
So, and I suppose the course had a huge influence on that. Yeah. It's been a real journey for you, hasn't it? It sounds like.
It has.
It's very inspiring, and for us to hear, because we were quite involved in the working with DWP to have this project delivered, which is an unusual project. It's quite a groundbreaking project, and to see, how it's changed your life is really inspiring for us, and it motivates us to do more work like this for women across the borough. Communication is central to improved integration. With that in mind, Walsall for All ESOL Intelligence Unit invested in providing community-based ESOL classes across the borough that benefited over 2,000 residents.
Join us now as we talk to one of our participants, Nazneen, about her experience.
ESOL is more than teaching English. It's all about confidence building, it's all about self-esteem, integration, getting people to understand their community. It's very important, especially when living in a multicultural country, to be able to speak the language and understand it and speak it confidently. Walsall for All were an absolute godsend. They were already involved in some community learning. They wanted to get involved in more community learning, and they just said, Naz, tell us where the need. We know there's a need, but can you then go out and find out where exactly there's a need, what the need is, and how we are going to support the community of Walsall, and come back to us. And I did, and here we are today. Community learning is very important because you're learning in the community with the community. So you're learning with people that are maybe in similar situations as you. So getting to know each other, understanding how different cultures can live side by side together. And that's all done through language. So some of the things we teach our students are confidence building, CV support, how to access emergency services, so how to make an appointment, how to call 999. I would say life skills of when you are in the UK, what kind of things you need to know and how you to go about getting them. One of our success stories is a lovely lady called Hawa. She started off attending our classes just to improve her English and her confidence and how she interacts with people. And she went through that journey, and today Hawa is actually teaching the classes.
When I first came to this country, I was going through a whole lot myself. New language, my kids starting school, strategy of schooling, everything was so new to me. My cousins encouraged me to join the ESOL class at Simple Steps training. It's built my confidence. It's helped me come out of my shell and out of my comfort zone. From my journey of learning in the class to now being a tutor or a teacher, a year ago, I wouldn't have thought of myself being a teacher. I never knew I could get a career in teaching from ESOL classes. I'm now tutoring, I'm now teaching 2 classes. So it's good, it's helped a lot.
The ESOL classes have been amazing for the residents of Walsall. They have brought communities together. There's a lot more understanding, there's a lot more confidence to be able to go out and speak English and approach the community, get involved in community events, and I really hope this carries on. It's imperative that we show that there's a legacy that has to be continued. So I really hope it does carry on.
Living together in harmony and acceptance spearheaded the work undertaken by Nash Dom, who produced welcome packs and the buddy scheme that enable newly arrived communities to feel better connected.
Project delivery with the Gypsy, Roma and Traveller community tackled previous perceptions and stereotypes and provided a platform for their voices to be heard.
The Hate Crime Reduction Initiative was led by Black Country Innovate, along with faith and community groups and local partners committed to reducing all forms of hate crime. As part of this project, a number of residents came forward to share their experiences. Here's Shazia's story.
I don't think the uniform makes any difference at all. As long as I've got my hijab on, people will see that first. They won't see the uniform, they won't see the job I do. They just see me, somebody from the hijab will actually to them mean that I'm not from this country. I'm a domiciliary healthcare assistant. I go into people's homes and administer medication and do their personal care. I've experienced hate crime a lot of times, especially since I've started the job, because I'm going out into other areas. I finished one call and was walking to the next, and somebody shouted, I actually thought he's come to me to say hello. This was on a Sunday morning. But he actually came to me and said, and he just walked off. There was people around me and I expected somebody to just come towards me and say, you know, you shouldn't have said this, but nobody did, and I think that really made me more upset. I also had one experience on the bus going to work, and the gentleman on the bus was saying he doesn't like Paki people, and I've got a headscarf on. I am a Pakistani. His comments were really, really hurtful, but the plus side to it was the lady next to me, an old lady, probably in her 80s, came over to me. She could see I was upset. She put her arm around me and said, don't take it, just ignore what he said. You're better than that. And that really, you know, for me, that was a positive experience. This is my reality, what I have to deal with every day. And people are surprised when they hear about it. It makes me feel really scared and vulnerable. When an incident has happened to me, I am constantly looking over my shoulder for a couple of good weeks. It does have a horrible impact on you. When I go out that door, to me, it's like, I don't know what I'm going to come across. If someone experiences hate crime, they should report it.
Thank you, Shazia, for sharing your story. Earlier on, we mentioned about the Welcome Pack and Buddy scheme led by Nash Dom.
This project supported the integration of newly arrived communities through their Welcome to Walsall Pack, which included information on rights and responsibilities, details on accessing local services, and signposting to groups.
The project also invited individuals to become buddies, supporting those who are new to Walsall.
Let's hear more from Nash Dom at their community hub in Pulfrey.
Nash Dom is a CIC set up in 2010. It was set up with the aim of supporting newly arrived communities, meaning people coming to the country from Europe or outside Europe. Our service provision is mainly contained of a multilingual advice and guidance for people facing language barriers. As an organization, we aim to intervene in moments of crisis for our customers, but we also wanted to build their capacities to be self-sufficient and to help themselves. We work together with Walsall for All, supporting newly arrived communities with the information needed for them to settle in Walsall. For those who struggle with English, we have translated the pack in 7 other languages. The pack contains useful information and contacts of local services, organizations, but also places, services like transport, health, education, housing. The buddy scheme was another component of the project we implemented with Walsall for All, and it aimed to bring the support for newly arrived communities beyond the welcome pack. So we wanted to have a service which would offer support face-to-face to new residents in Walsall.
I first signed up in the buddy scheme. We had a meeting and talked about what is going to involve the activities and also how we're going to help people. So we had a greeting in the park with drinks and also talking about our buddy scheme and how it works and how we can help them.
I wanted to join the buddy scheme to meet new people, to get to work within the community, to volunteer, and to develop my skills. Through the buddy scheme, the support that we offered was involving them in the community to understand what are the services that they're using, when to use them, and how they can access them. Through my experience within the scheme, I think it's a very important step that people should follow to help other people that are struggling finding help within the community or struggling to find people from their backgrounds.
The buddy scheme has brought this socializing aspect for our intervention, our support to new residents in Walsall. And it created a platform for people to interact, to get to know each other, to get to know new places in Walsall, knowing their local community, having this feeling of belonging and participating in their community life.
Over the last 2 years, COVID-19 has impacted us all in different ways. When the pandemic emerged in March 2020, Walsall for All quickly adapted to the situation by introducing emergency response work amongst existing providers and looked at ways to move projects to online platforms.
Despite the circumstances, we were still able to deliver the majority of these projects, but in different ways. Partnership working across organisations and communities were more vital than ever.
At this time, we would like to pay tribute to everyone who played their part in the response to COVID, from frontline staff to volunteers in the community who gave their time to help those who were the most vulnerable.
As we continue to learn about COVID, there was a need to work closely with communities across Walsall to help others stay safe by improving understanding of COVID-19 and getting vaccinated. That's why the Community Champions programme was introduced.
Aimed at supporting residents from underrepresented communities most at risk, working with local partners, the aims were to increase vaccination uptake, prevent the spread of COVID, tackle the spread of misinformation, reduce the impact of the virus, and improve physical and mental well-being.
17 groups in Walsall were involved in the programme between May 2021 and March 2022. Their roles included recruiting community champions, receiving the latest COVID advice and information to share within their networks, and attending regular meetings with health organisations to exchange best practice and ideas.
Zebra Access was one of the 17 groups that participated, a deaf-led charity dedicated to ensuring that all deaf and hard of hearing people enjoy equal participation and access without communication barriers.
We spoke to Linda from Zebra Access to learn more about her experiences as a community champion.
It's important to get the message across to the deaf community, because hearing people can hear the information. They can overhear those things like the location of the vaccination buses, the different sites. Deaf people may not be aware of that. So that's where I got involved. So I would receive the information and then I would become the middle person delivering that information across through social media using signed clips or through WhatsApp broadcast, so that the deaf people were aware of where the vaccination sites were or where the bus may be, and they could prepare to go along for the vaccination. Also, we had to demonstrate to the deaf community how the lateral flow tests worked. They may receive the box, but have no idea how to use it. So we opened one and demonstrated how to do the test, how to do the swab, and to wait for the test results, and to check if they were clear and they were safe. And also talked about when to use one and how to use it. And through that demonstration, the deaf people then understood what to look for. Well, the best experience for me was when I went into the vaccination site and I pretended to be a deaf person who required a vaccination. And I sat down, and the person delivering the vaccine had no clue what to do. They were very unsure. But I just sat and I played dumb, and they looked very unsure. And I think it really impacted on them. And they thought if they were to deal with a deaf person, how would they communicate? And that's when I realised that it would be impossible for them to deal with a deaf person, which is where I stepped in. And I gave them various time slots where I would come along with my BSL interpreter, and we would be there at the vaccination centre so that deaf people would know at that specific time they could come along to have their vaccination. And we could support them with sign language and delivering their personal information about themselves and talking about what kind of vaccine they were having, because that information needed to be correct. So when I first joined the COVID Champions, I was learning all of that information from the meetings and then sharing that with the deaf community. So specifically the updated information about what was going on, like the rule about masks being scrapped and needing third vaccinations. So I think it's important to make sure they keep getting the updated information. What I think about the programme, it's about working together to combat COVID. And also in the Walsall area, increasing the percentage of people who have had the vaccination by encouraging them to go and get it. And I feel satisfied that the job has been done. And we can all celebrate that most people out there have been vaccinated through our encouragement and keeping them informed about COVID. The best part for me, I think, was learning. I learned a lot through the meetings, also meeting the staff. And it also meant I was one of the first people to hear the latest information about COVID. So that was another part of it. And also delivering that information to the deaf community and knowing that they had that information which I had helped to deliver.
What an amazing show this has been, but sadly, we're almost at the end.
But before we close, we would like to say a few final words. Firstly, a big thank you to all our partner organisations in Walsall and beyond who have been supportive of the Walsall for All programme since the beginning and have provided direction and guidance for our work.
Next, we would like to thank all our community organisations for their dedication and energy in creating innovative projects Thousands of Walsall residents have benefited from participating in Walsall for All, and we are truly grateful for their involvement.
Walsall for All would not have been possible without its team of change makers. So a big thank you to all the project managers and officers for their commitment, knowledge and skills in bringing the projects to life.
And finally, we want to thank you at home for your support and tuning into the show. We are excited for what the future holds for Walsall for All, and we hope that you can continue to be a part of it in the months and years to come. But for now, it's a goodbye from us.
Bye.
Goodbye.